Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Funded Fast Chat. I'm Rochelle Butler. I'm the Energy Manager with the San Joaquin Valley Clean Energy Organization. I hope everyone's having a great morning and a great week, and thank you so much for being with us this morning. Before we get started this morning, I'm going to just take care of our little bit of housekeeping here. Please make note that all of your microphones have been muted upon joining the call. This is simply to minimize background noise. As always, if you have any questions at all, I highly encourage you to go ahead and submit them using your chat box. You may do so at any point during the presentation, and I'll be sure to save some time toward the end to address those questions. Next, I would like to invite everyone to connect with us. You can do so on any one of many platforms. You can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram, on Spotify, or you can just reach out the old-fashioned way via email or by telephone, whichever is your preference. And if you didn't quite get all that, worry not. Just remember you can access any of our resources by going to our website. That's at sjvcleanenergy.org. Once again, that's sjvcleanenergy.org. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into our presentation this morning. So those of you who are regulars here at the Funded Fast Chat know that we do like to take a quick moment and talk about related topics. So these are topics that we've covered in the past that are related to the topic of the current month. We have two for this morning. One of them was our Funded Fast Chat number 25, where we talked about the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grants, or STPG for short. We also covered the Transformative Climate Communities, or TCC for short, and that was Fast Chat number 46. So when you have a moment, please take a quick second, go check them out. There's a lot of really good information there. And while you're over there checking out our YouTube page, don't be afraid to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. In all transparency, it does help us out when you do this, but more importantly than that, it helps folks just like yourself to find our content. All right, so we're going to dive right on in. The Active Transportation Program is a competitive statewide program. The idea here is to encourage, well, active transportation, such as like cycling and walking and things like that. Some cities are much better at doing this than others, and the idea is to kind of level out that playing field, if you will, and have space everywhere where folks are able to access safe walkways and bike lanes. The program is brought to us by Senate Bill 99, and as well as the Assembly Bill 101, which directs additional funding from the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation account to the Active Transportation Program. All right, so here are some goals that are listed out for the program. This program aims to increase the proportion of trips accomplished by biking and walking. It also aims to increase the safety and mobility for non-motorized users. It aims to advance the active transportation efforts of regional agencies to achieve greenhouse gas reduction goals, enhance public health, including the reduction of childhood obesity through the use of programs, including, but certainly not limited to, projects that are eligible for the Safe Routes to School program funding. Also to ensure that disadvantaged communities fully share in the benefits of the program, and to provide a broad spectrum of projects to benefit many types of active transportation users. In addition to these goals, the ATP will also consider state goals and provisions that are set forth in the Climate Action Plan for Transportation Infrastructure, or CAPTI for short. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the funding source and the programming cycle. So funding for this program comes from a few different state and local sources, such as 100% of the Federal Transportation Alternative Program, with the exclusion of the Federal Recreation Trail Program funds, which are appropriated to the Department of Parks and Recreation, about $21 million of Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program funds, state highway account funds, There's also the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account, or SB1 funds. This program is ongoing, and each program cycle is 4 years. So new programming capacity for the 2023 ATP will be for the state fiscal years 2023 through 24, 24 through 25, 25 through 26, and 26 through 27. So that means you have plenty of time to start developing a project. Lastly, on this note, the minimum proposal to be considered for this program is $200,000. And just as a heads up, this is a reimbursement-based program, so you can kind of get an idea of how you'll have to plan in the event that funding is awarded. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the distribution of the funding. That's a really important item for this particular program because they do put a very large emphasis on making sure that disadvantaged communities are included. And as I go through these points, you'll see what I mean in just a moment. So 40% of the funding will be awarded to what are called Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or MPOs for short. These are urban areas with populations that are greater than 200,000 people. So for MPOs, the funds must be distributed based on the total MPO population. Projects selected by MPOs may be in large urban, small urban, or rural areas. And a minimum of 25% of those funds that are distributed to each MPO must benefit disadvantaged communities. 10% of the funding will be awarded to small urban and rural areas with populations of 200,000 or less. Federal law segregates the Transportation Alternative Program into separate small urban and rural competitions based on their relative share of the state population. So what does that mean? Well, small urban areas are going to be those with populations of 5,001 people all the way up to 200,000 people, and rural areas are going to be those with populations of 5,000 people or less. A minimum of 25% of these funds in the small urban and rural programs must benefit, once again, disadvantaged communities. However, if a project is eligible for the MPO component, it cannot be eligible for funding in the small urban and rural component. So there's no kind of crossing of the two buckets, if you will. And then last, but certainly not least, 50% of the projects will be competitively awarded by the Commission on the statewide basis. Once again, a minimum of 25% of the funds in the statewide competitive program must benefit disadvantaged communities. A portion of statewide component funding is used to fund the Active Transportation Resource Center. So that's kind of a big one here. The Resource Center is administered by Caltrans, and it provides statewide technical assistance and support to all current and potential ATP applicants, which is actually a really cool feature. The services that they provide include things like technical assistance, training, resources, and tools to help agencies, particularly those in disadvantaged communities, deliver existing and future projects and to strengthen community involvement in future projects. So I will most definitely have a link to that website in our follow-up email later on after the call today, so you can take a closer look if you want to do some more deep diving. And then just one last quick note on this topic here. There is no match funding requirement for this program. However, large MPOs in administering a competitive selection process may require a funding match for projects that are selected through their competitive process, but as kind of an overall idea, there's no match funding. So I know that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of some of our smaller agencies. All right, let's talk about who's eligible to apply for the program. At the top of the list here, we have local, regional, and state agencies. These are your folks like our cities and our counties. Now, the next one might look a little bit weird, but Caltrans is actually on the list of eligible applicants. This means that Caltrans can actually nominate a project on behalf of another agency. A Caltrans nominated project must be coordinated and aligned with local and regional priorities. Caltrans is required to submit documentation that local communities are supportive of and have provided feedback on the proposed Caltrans ATP project. Also, Caltrans must submit documentation to support the need and to address the project with ATP funds rather than another funding source, maybe such as like the State Highway Operations and Protection Program, or you may know that program as SHOP. Next on the list of eligible agencies are transit agencies. And going down the list, we have like natural resources and public land agencies. Public schools and school districts are also eligible. Tribal governments, private nonprofit tax-exempt organizations, and lastly, any other entity with responsibility for oversight of transportation or recreational trails that the Commission determines to be eligible. So just a quick note here, eligibility should be established with the Commission staff before the application deadline, although the list of eligible agencies is pretty broad and inclusive. If you're unsure for any reason, it's always a good idea to just check beforehand. All right, now for the exciting part, let's talk about eligible projects. I attempted to list them out in order of complexity, so I'll get into that a little bit more, but hopefully it'll make sense as I kind of go down the list. At the top of the list here, I have infrastructure projects. So these are your capital projects. They are also seen as the project to really further the goals of the ATP program. They typically include all of the environmental design, right-of-way, and construction phases of a typical capital project. These projects also have a project study report, or you may know them as a PSR or something equivalent to that. Next on the list are plans. So proposals under this category are for the development of a community-wide bicycle, safe routes to school, or active transportation plan that encompasses or is predominantly located in a disadvantaged community. Next on the list, we have non-infrastructure projects, or NI for short. These would primarily entail things like education and encouragement programs that also further the goals of the ATP. Next, we have infrastructure projects. Infrastructure projects with non-infrastructure components. So that's kind of a combination of two of them. What does that mean? These are capital projects that also include an educational or encouragement component. It should be a relatively balanced proposal though, between the infrastructure and the non-infrastructure components. What they don't want to see is mainly an infrastructure proposal with maybe one or two aspects of the non-infrastructure. So they want to see a good balance there, and inclusion throughout the proposal. And then finally, there are what are referred to as quick build projects. The Commission will consider a small number of quick build projects for the 2023 ATP as a phase 2 kind of a pilot. These are interim capital infrastructure projects that are in line with the goals of the ATP. Specifically, projects that require construction, they are built with durable, low to moderate cost materials. However, they only last between 1 and 5 years. So, as I said, interim capital infrastructure. All right, and so we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the application process. So I've given you a lot of information here, so I'm just going to touch really briefly here. Instructions for submitting an electronic application are typically posted on the Commission's website, as well as the Caltrans Local Assistance website. The program, just completed a cycle earlier this summer, so you won't see that information right now this second. However, as we get closer to the next cycle, those items will start to pop up. Also, keep in mind that in the past, applicants were also required to submit a hard copy as well as an electronic copy. Moving forward, that requirement is no longer there. So I imagine that kind of makes folks' lives a little bit easier. All right, so, there we go. So that's what I have on the active transportation program for now. I'm going to pause here really quickly for some questions. Once again, if you have any questions at all, please take a couple of seconds and put them in the chat box if you have not done so already. And while folks are working on that, I just want to remind everyone to please look out for our follow-up email later on today after the call. That email will have links to all of the related fast chats that I mentioned at the top of the presentation, so you don't have to go searching around for them. That email will also have links to the important resources and information that I referenced during the presentation this morning. Lastly, I just want to take a really quick second and remind y'all to add us to your email contacts. We want to be sure that you're receiving our communications so you can stay up to date on what's going on around the partnership. That email is info@sjvcleanenergy.org. And with that, I'll take another quick peek at our chat box, see if we have any questions at all. And I'm not seeing any questions there, so hopefully that means I explained everything clearly so everyone got a grasp on it. I encourage everyone listening, please share the fast chat with your friends and your colleagues. You never know how this information might help out someone or how they might be able to benefit. What's next on the menu for our Funded Fast Chat? We will be back with you on September 13th. I hope you will all join us for that fast chat. We will be discussing the Regional Climate Collaboratives. We have some other exciting topics planned going into the end of the year, so please stay tuned. Of course, we hope to see you for every episode of the Funded Fast Chat, but if you can't make it for whatever reason, just remember all fast chats are recorded and they can be accessed through our website or by going directly to our page on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel while you're over there. As always, thank you for being with us this morning. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope you all stay safe and stay healthy. Until next time.